Hello and welcome to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950. I'm your host, Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
Before we share who our guest is today, Joe's going to remind us of our show's purpose.
Our show's purpose is to help connect those seeking service through stories of amazing service. And we do that by having a great guests on that talk about organizations, projects, and most times Rotary and how we think Rotary is the best vehicle for service.
Obviously, we're biased.
Super biased.
So our guest today is Andreas Trevino. He is the District 5840 Rotaract Chair and Sergeant at Arms for the Pearl Rotary Club. And
all the way down in Texas.
Rockport, Texas, to be exact.
He brings some energy and
he sure
he's
does.
diving into his role. So it's a good interview, and it's fun to have somebody that, a lot of times we're having different demographic as guests.
Old people, is that what you're trying to say? Yeah, he's young.
He is younger, and to Chad's point, he certainly brings a lot of youthful energy, and what he's doing down there for the Rotaract Club, and then just in connection to DEI
let's go get it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to just see how that all plays out here in the next few months.
Excited.
So, let's
get to him.
Well, I'm your host, Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
I'm Chad Larson. We'll be back.
Hello and welcome back to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950. I'm your host, Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
We got special guest on. Oh, I'm so sorry.
We want to thank our sponsor, the Russell Hampton Company. They're the #1 printer for Rotary in the U.S. They can print anything you need, but any Rotary gear, if your club needs it or you guys are having an event, if you're watching online, you can see they sent over pretty cool tumblers. We got a cutting board, but really they can do anything.
Out of the coffee cup.
Got my mug. But we want to thank russellhampton.com for being our sponsor.
Thank you, Russell.
And Andres got a Russell Hampton Rotary, same one. I love it.
So we have our guest today, Andreas Trevino. He is the chair for District 5840 Rotaract Club, and also Sergeant at Arms for the Pearl Rotary Club. Welcome.
Thank you. I feel very welcome. I feel like all of my new friends, right?
I love it because you're gonna fit in perfectly here, bud. I love it. Well, let's I always like to
and let's remind people really quick before we get into it where District 5840 is.
Not
ask. Let's just put it out there.
Yeah, go ahead and share with us.
It's South Central Texas. It's San Antonio to Del Rio. Not all the way south and not all the way east, but it's right in the middle, right in the center. So
cool.
Very cool.
San Antonio, Austin, very big cities, right, with a lot of clubs and a lot of members.
Gotcha. And so, which city are you in?
I'm in San Antonio right now. I was born in Dallas, but I moved to San Antonio as quick as I could, and I love it here. My family's here.
Why is that?
Why did I move here?
Yeah.
Because my family's from here, and they brought me back here. So we were just in Dallas for my dad's business. So
right on.
What's your favorite part of living in San Antonio other than the family?
The breakfast tacos. You have to come get carne asada and bacon and egg on a flour tortilla, and it's the best thing with coffee.
I thought you were going to say your midday runs in July.
Oh yeah,
or January
when it's 158 degrees.
Anything by the pool or the water on the hot days, right?
Wonderful. And so you're the Rotaract chair. Tell us, how is it that you came to service through Rotary?
Okay, so I've been with Rotary for 2 years. So I'm new. I'm like y'all. I've heard some of your stories, so y'all are new to Rotary, and we're about the same age. I'm 37, and I graduated high school in 2004, and I went to an all-males Catholic school. It was a college preparatory school and private, and it was great. We have a great reading list. We have great teachers. We have sports and band and ROTC, and it's one of the best schools in the city to send your kids. Go Buttons, right? So 2004, I graduate and I go to UTSA for a little bit, and my life is evolving and transitioning. And 15 years later, right, we get in our time machine. My friend calls me out of the blue, and he says, we're going to have a small class reunion, and we're going to get together at this, I don't know, a dive bar and hang out. And we catch up, and I hang out with my friends, and it's great. I love hanging out with my friends. And he's like, I want to have coffee with you. Right, coffee, so easy. Let's have coffee the next day, and I want to tell you about something. And I'm stressing out. I'm like, social anxiety's kicking in. What does this guy want? I haven't seen him for a while. Is he going to ask me for money? Is he selling me life insurance? Right. But he tells me, you ever heard of Rotary Club? And I'm like, what's Rotary Club? And he's like, well, it's about community service. And I said, community service, like, turning in our service hours. And he's like, yeah, like turning in our service hours. And it just evolved from there, right? That's when the snowball just went downhill, right? And started growing and growing. And I took the deep dive into Rotary and learned that it's different than the Lions Club, and it's different than the Salvation Army or the Red Cross or Freemasonry. And it's it's one of the world's premier international humanitarian service organizations. And we get together, and it's a diverse global network of community, business, professional leaders who address relevant social cause to change lives and build goodwill and peace at home and abroad. And I think that's what sums up Rotary Club. And I didn't know that 2 years ago, right? It just started with coffee, and I think one of the first service projects was Robin's Nest. It was a literacy program where we got on this old school bus, and they took us to an apartment complex, and we had packed pens and papers and rulers and pencils for these kids. And Robin Tresnick, who has a PhD and promotes literacy, she wrote these books herself, and they're free books at no cost to them, right? And she runs a 501c, and it's very interesting that we come on a Saturday and these kids jump on the bus and we read to them, and that promotes literacy and imagination and sparks the change in their mind that they can learn more, right?
Yeah, very cool.
So talk a little bit more about your Rotary journey, because it sounds like, you got introduced through a friend. You went to a couple club meetings, I'm assuming.
The same one as, did you join this club that your friend was in, or did you join a different one? Sorry.
Well, I have to shout out the Pearl Rotary Club, right? Well, it's my first Rotary Club. I joined 2 years ago, and the world looked a lot different 2 years ago when we were dealing with COVID and everything that's going on. So my first meetings were over Zoom, and that was kind of weird, just meeting people on the internet and talking to them, and they're talking about service, but it's a lot of meetings, right? For a person who's first coming in, it's a lot of meetings, it's a lot of acronyms, it's a lot of sayings that these people are saying that you don't really catch on to right away.
And there's a lot to be said about the in-person component of Rotary too, with the fellowship. Like I think that if I'd never had gone to an in-person meeting and only knew Zoom, I'd be like, it'd be much more difficult to pick it up.
Yeah,
right. So thankfully that ended, right? And we finally got together, and we meet where we meet. We meet downtown at the Pearl in Botica. It's the first and third Friday for lunch for 1 hour, right? We usually stay for 2 hours because that's how much fun we have. And there's free parking across the Hotel Emma in the parking building and the Kohler parking garage, because I want to make sure everybody gets their 2 free hours parking just to make the meeting easier. Coming to a nice restaurant and setting aside budgeting money to have lunch with my friends, that's easy. I waste money on $5 coffee here or there or fast food by myself. Why don't you put $30 away and go eat lunch with your friends and be entertained by the speaker and learn more about your community? I mean, I've learned so much through the speakers, right? So there is strength in the meetings, and you learn a lot. You learn a lot about your community.
Isn't that the truth? It truly is.
Yeah.
It's probably one of my favorite parts of our meeting. I mean, I love our our members. And I'm sure you can attest to that as well, Andreas, but it's, listening to those speakers and where they came from, where they're at now, and what their inspiration is as well. It's pretty powerful.
Well, and just how pertinent it is to have, the newest information about what's going on in your community. It's always kind of being up to date.
Yeah.
Versus, that knowledge base is so valuable. I use it every day, every day.
Right. The magic word is insight here. I'm looking for insight. And at every meeting, there's insight. I find out something new about my community that I'm in, where people really do need my help. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
I like that you mentioned insight, because something, and it was going to be my question before Chad rudely interrupted me.
Oh man.
But like something that we've learned on this show, Rotary is such a big animal, and trying to understand Rotary from a larger context is such it's hard. It's really hard. It's hard to do. And it's hard to do at your local level and your club level, because you're so focused on your local community, your local service projects, your local people. How have you gotten your information? Like, because obviously to get connected in with the district, you've got to have some, some connection, and then also some curiosity about what's going on outside of just your club. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I would say anybody who's listening to this podcast and they say Andres is saying so much about Rotary Club, and he's saying so much, I want to get involved. I would say not only get involved at the club level, but also get involved at the district level, and say yes 90% of the time. If you show up and you say yes, and people depend on you and they know you're going to come through, they'll put you in positions of leadership, and they'll give you that opportunity. And I think that's what Rotary Club does. It gives you opportunity.
Hey, I just want to say, how do you think we ended up here doing this podcast?
I want to shout out Kristen Salazar, the incoming district governor. Right, she puts me in these positions of leadership, and she sees that I'm young and I'm ambitious and creative, and so all power to her. Right.
God bless your heart. You're saying we're young at the ages of 37, 38.
I know that's a blessing from Rotary, right?
I agree.
I love these numbers. You can get lost in these numbers, but I think one that's kind of true if you average it out is that 75% of Rotary clubs is over 75 years old for a lot of clubs, and that's what people think about Rotary Club. They might think it's an old man's club, right? And we need to change that around and say it's for everyone, right? Rotary Club is for everyone. And if you're listening to this, there's a Rotary Club for you, right? Yeah. If you like your job, if you don't like your job, if you're in between jobs, come to a Rotary meeting, and you'll find something that you like. You'll find your passion, right?
You probably find a job.
That's true.
I get calls from friends, and they ask me, "Do you know anybody that's hiring?" Well, I don't know anybody that's hiring, but come to a Rotary Club meeting. You'll get involved, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with Rotaract?
I got trial by fire. I got thrown on this sinking ship, right? That's what I like to call it. I like to call it a sinking ship. It's hard to keep this thing afloat with kids that cycle out of college. They graduate, and then there's no place for them to go. And sometimes the Rotary dues are a little bit too much. It's a little bit too much. And I like to say Rotary shouldn't cost you anything, right? He who serves the most should profit the most, right? Yeah. And when you say yes to these opportunities, you're rewarded, right? So the most rewarding thing you can do is community service, because you see the smile on somebody's face, right?
Yeah.
And it's very rewarding. I love it.
He who serves the most profits the most.
Yeah, right. A great man once said that.
His name was Andres.
Yeah.
How have you? So as you've become the president, right, of the Rotaract.
Well, I'm more involved in my Rotary Club.
The chair.
Yeah.
What type of things
let's talk about the position of Rotaract chair of District 5840. So anybody who's a club in District 5840 that is a Rotaract club and they're struggling to keep this ship afloat, come call me, and we'll build this foundation, and we'll dig up the past, and we're going to build a bigger, better ship for the future, right?
Let's
So-
work on the metaphor though, because if you build a foundation on a boat, it's gonna sink.
You're right. There's a word for this. It's called the keel. I really love boats and building boats. So
Reinforce
it's
the
called the keel. And we're going to build this keel on the hull, and we're going to sail into the future.
Good Lord.
Okay.
Nerds.
Yeah.
Can we play a horn sound?
Yeah. So welcome to the world of my husband. Well, technically speaking,
I'm ready for it. Throw all the questions at me. I'm ready for it. I got all the answers.
Okay, so you were mentioning, I don't know if we kind of like wound that up with a nice little bow, but so can you just recap for me or recap for our listeners the role of chair of a Rotaract club and what you were talking about with like
He's a fixer.
okay.
Yeah. Well, also besides that, there's another part to it, right? It's membership. It's starting new clubs and looking out into the community and finding clubs before their clubs, right? Finding
Sure.
people that are business oriented and business minded that are already meeting together, and they have the hints of wanting to do good in their community, and they don't know about our foundation, right? They've never heard about leveraging your money for good to end polio. They've never heard about the organizations that we work with, the World Health Organization, UNICEF, and the Centers for Disease Control, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and all our efforts to end polio worldwide, right? So I like to tell people, if you take the deep dive into Rotary, you'll get out what you put in, right? And I'm working hard to do that, and I'm getting rewarded. But anybody who wants to start a new club, they should come talk to me, and we could figure that out together. And I can invite them to a Rotary Club meeting, and they can see what a Rotary Club looks like, and they can take that and start a Rotaract club and have 8 individuals. And the benefits of Rotaract is that the dues are a lot lower than Rotary Club. For a community-based club, it's only $8 a month. For 8 people, that's $64 a month to start a club. That's not a lot when you consider the good that you can do through the foundation and leveraging your money for stuff you're already raising money for.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know about you. I mean, I think the Rotaract clubs is really an opportunity to grow Rotary, because it feels like that, Rotary is missing a farm system.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where people can
yes.
expose themselves to service and to things like that, and then like kind of graduate as they get older into Rotary. And I've always not loved the delineation, right? Like it should all be Rotary, and it just should
Rotaract,
be, but
and then Rotarian.
But at the same time, I kind of get it, right? But I think the Rotaract seems to be one of the Interact. I mean, you can go to both of those levels and just say that's the key. If you can build there and build strong membership in those locations, you're going to get strong Rotary. It's an outcome that will happen.
Right. I like to call this the missing link, right? We're missing a link between Interact and Rotaract and Rotary, right? I mean, we have a lot of great opportunities for these kids that have never heard about what Rotary Club is, and they'll come to RILA, the Rotary Youth Leadership Awards, and they'll spend 3 days with 100 kids from around the district, and they'll hang out overnight and do leadership classes and build confidence and have a sense of what motivation is. And it's great for these young kids. And I feel like we give them the power and the opportunity to start their own clubs. Each one of these kids could start their own clubs. And if they're listening to me talk, they can call me up, and I'll invite them to a Pearl Rotary Club meeting, and I'll buy their first lunch on me, right? So call me up, right?
I'm really inspired by just how overwhelmingly positive you are about everything. And that's, I mean, you got to have that, especially in the circumstance of kind of rebuilding or retooling. Yeah.
Just to piggyback off on that, I think, can you share a story of a Rotaract club that you did go into and has helped turn it around? Like, and maybe provide a story or an example of like why they were struggling, and then how did you come in and help them?
We're gonna have to finish this up on episode 2, because I'm early in my journey. I'm like an archaeologist, and I'm digging up the past, right? I'm I'm finding these emails that don't work to these professors, and I'm searching them out, and I'm looking for them, and I'm sending emails, and I want to be invited to a meeting. Uh, we just got done with the holidays, so that was a natural break for everybody, spending time with their family, and that's really important, right? Family comes first, and but now it's time to get active again and get out there and start new clubs and be more active.
My
more
mistake, how long have you been in the role? How long have you been in this role? It probably doesn't sound like you've been in the role
It's
for.
not very long, like 3 months, 4 months. Yeah.
Oh my
You mean you
gosh.
haven't solved the problem yet?
Yeah.
Are you joking?
Okay.
3 months?
Okay.
No.
That's okay. So you're learning and growing and evolving, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, because the beauty of Rotary is that you've got pretty immense support. And something that I noted, and thank you for sending over some tidbits and some bio information. Looks like you did some recent travel. I'm seeing a very familiar name, the name of Tom Gump.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
Who's Tom?
Yeah, who is Tom? Who's Tom?
He's
But
been
it
on the
sounds
show
like
3
this
times.
is somebody who, I mean, you even pointed out, like, we need bureaucratic people like Tom Gump.
Yeah, we need the PPAs of the world, right? We need people to keep us in line and follow the rules, dot the I's and cross the T's. And that is Tom Gump. If you ever met him, he was very formal, very cordial, and to the point, right?
Where did you meet him?
Man.
I met him at Zone. So last October, I went to Zone in Evanston.
Yep.
It was close to Chicago, a suburb of Chicago. And I met very important people there, like Stephanie Yerchik and Tom Gump and Lloyd Campbell and Alex Johnson and all Pat Merriweather, right? All these people that you've had on the podcast,
I was
right?
just gonna say we've
I
had
was
him
like,
on.
all those names sound
Right?
so familiar.
It's the mountaintop, right? I've made it to the mountaintop and they can hear me, right? Hopefully I made an impression and they remember me, right?
Enough to get you on the show.
Yeah, here you are. Well, I
made
do
it.
think you're playing a pretty integral role and have a nice spot here and how to kind of bridge that gap. And so it'll be fascinating to have you on again to talk, maybe in a few months to see how everything has progressed.
Yeah, I guess, can I reframe my question that I asked before?
Yeah.
Instead of like, have you identified a very common link of what is the problem? And you talked a little bit about cost, but like, what seems to be the problem with Rotaract clubs being able to sustain themselves or grow?
Okay, so when you're dealing with Rotaract clubs, you're dealing with two different clubs. You're dealing with the traditional university college-based club, or you're dealing with the community-based club. And Rotaract has been around a long time, but I like the word that Kelly said. We're evolving, right? We're adapting to change, and that's what Rotaract is doing. It's important to adapt to change, and getting younger people involved is very important. So when you want to reach these young people, it's hard to get their information because that's privé information. And if you're going to come to a university, you better come correct with the proper letterhead and the proper support behind you, your district. And we want to set up these booths at these fairs and ask these kids to get involved, right? We want to be in the middle of the parade and have the biggest recruitment parties that we can. And that's a struggle. That's the struggle right there. Getting more people, we're getting more young people involved. And then when they age out, how perfect would it be to have a community-based club that's right next door that's meeting at a different time, right? And they can feel welcomed and see like, oh, Mr. Johnson, I saw you at the meeting, right? And I want to be a part of that, right? I'm graduating this year, and I really don't have a place at that club anymore. So let me go over here to this community-based club, which is the same thing, and they can stay in there longer. And I think that's part of the sustainability is having a happy, healthy club. And I think that's a great topic to talk about is having a happy, healthy club. And I have to shout out my Pearl Rotary Club. I think we're the youngest, the most fun, the most diverse Rotary Club. Our Rotary Club doesn't look like everybody else's Rotary Club, but it does look like our community. We're all different shades of colors. We're all different religions. We're all different races. And we come together and we get on the level and we tackle these community service projects together, and we put our hands together and we come together and solve these problems, right?
Yeah.
It's good. And I'm the thing that I want to point out is that, you know, this is one of our biggest issues right now. Part of the reason that we have this podcast going and have had it going for so long is the challenges that Rotary faces right now is exactly what you were just talking about with your club. And that is there didn't seem to be enough diversity, or, you know, that there seemed to be
or it doesn't
more,
reflect the community,
right,
in
or
which
it doesn't
it's serving.
reflect
Yeah.
the community. And so, man, is it cool to hear you share what is it that helps your club stand apart. And it's all of the things that you just listed off, right? And
Yeah.
how can, you know, and here's the thing, how can you bridge that gap in just those ways? It's like,
Right. So we're adapting to change here in the future and dealing with my club, and I want to show people how much fun I'm having in my club. Well, social media is a great way to do that. I mean, my public image chair is Rudy Rubio III, and he makes me look good. He makes me look like I'm having fun, and he makes me look like I'm doing good in the community, which I am, right? He makes me look good. He knows how to take those pictures, and he knows how to edit them and crop them and subtext them and hashtag them, right? And he puts it out there in the community. He does the press releases, and that's what Rotary Club teaches you about, right? I haven't taken the chair of public image yet, but I know what it entails because I see my friend doing it, and I love the rotation of Rotary Club. I know he's not going to be there forever, and somebody's going to have to come up behind him and take that position. And I think that's a great way from keeping getting burnt out. It's rotating your position in your club and taking care of your club and having fun and being happy and healthy and you know, when you want to show up to a meeting, that's the difference, right? If you dread coming to a meeting, that's not the Rotary Club I know, right?
Yeah.
I want to see my friends, right?
Well, at that point, why are you even doing it? You know what I mean? Then it's like life's too short.
You know, and you just talked about burnout, and can you talk a little bit about how you changed directions in your life and, you know, made some decisions professionally that really kind of pushed you in a new direction?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a young adult, right? I'm 37 years old, and Rotary Club makes me feel young. But, you know, as the Rotaract chair, college was not too far in my past. And I know the feelings of this test is coming up and you got to cram for it. And, you know, all the long night hours that college kids do. And college kids are amazing. I don't know how they do it, right? They go to the party till 4 a.m. and the next day they're in class, right? Well, at least that's how I was. And maybe that was part of the problem, right? They're young. And, you know, I want to challenge these young kids. I want to challenge them. If you're hanging out till 4 a.m. in the clubs, wear a Rotary Club shirt and make it look good, okay?
Oh gosh.
You're doing service.
Yeah.
And then show up to your service project the next day, please. And I want to challenge you to get more young people on this podcast and get them interviewed, right? I want to shout out all the people that took the class with me in Evanston, Sam Ook and the Lakefront Music Fest, and Annie Vanderwoof and Amy Resnick, and even the people that were just security there, Noah, who worked security at Rotary One building. Shout out to him and being so grateful and generous. You know, I think if you have more young people on this podcast and they can shout it from the mountaintops too, and they can say how much fun they're having, that'll get more people involved and interested in what is Rotary, right? The big question, what is Rotary? Well, and you're just going to have to take the deep dive for yourself, right?
You hit a huge hurdle that we've run into in this show is that, you know, a lot of legacy Rotarians, they don't even know what a podcast is.
Yeah.
And no, I mean, and it's not their fault, right? Like, but it's just symptomatic of exactly the problem that we're trying to address and trying to proactively solve. And so you're 100% right.
Yeah. And also, you know, if any college kids are listening to me and they're feeling burnt out, or, you know, they think Rotary Club is too much for them, or, you know, there's too much on my plate right now, you know, you got to find out what the reset button looks like for you in this time for you. You know, maybe it's quilting for you. Maybe it's watching your favorite Netflix show. Maybe it's fishing. I've been fishing a lot lately, trying to clear my mind, right? So whatever the reset button looks like to you, find out what that is and push it more often, right? And you know, all good things are not good things for you, right? And you have to show up as your best self. If that's why I say yes 90% of the time. If you can't show up as your best self and come through and follow through, then don't show up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but what happens if your reset button is a carton of ice cream? That has some negative byproduct after a little while.
All in moderation.
Yeah.
It's always delicious.
And I have to reset every day.
That's what it looks like. But you know what you can do? You can buy the little Ben and Jerry's ones, the small ones. Right?
Dang it, I knew he was going to have an answer.
Always have. When mom says I have an answer for everything, I'm too smart for my own good. But
so I want to just take a step back. I don't know if we actually covered this. One of our favorite questions to ask somebody who is a fellow Rotarian is what's been one of your most memorable service projects to date?
so we talked about Robin's Nest, and that was one of the first ones, and it kind of evolved from there. And now I've been doing service projects left and right. And you know, somebody asks you what Rotary is, you tell them it's community service, and well, I got a community service project for you. Come join the St. Vincent de Paul. Come do this, come do that, right? And you can only say yes so much. But one of my favorite ones is Under the Bridge with Jonathan Holler. I think that would make another great guest for you. My club member, Jonathan Holler. He works in media relations, and he's a very interesting individual. And he works with his parents on this project called Under the Bridge. And at Under the Bridge, we feed the homeless people every Sunday. And Rotary Club tries to sponsor at least one of those days out of the month where we pay for the food, and we show up and we volunteer and we cook the lasagna and we bring the food and the drinks and the water and the ice and everything. And it's well coordinated and well put together. And the sad thing is sometimes we don't have enough food for these people, right, who really need a meal because they have so much going on in their lives they can barely hold it together, and mental problems and there's other problems with homelessness besides not having a home. There's drug addictions that go along with it, or family instability, mental health, right? There's lots of factors, and these people are really thankful to get a meal, and it's really rewarding to feed them. But you know, we need to bring more food, and we need to do it more often, and have more volunteers. And there's other projects we do for the homeless people where we actually do give them a home. And there's a place called Town Village. It used to be an old drive-in, and we actually give homeless people a home. And they live in a small community. And how amazing is that they pay a small amount of rent, and they get their own home, a brand new home with hot water and a shower and a bed and a couch and everything they need. And they're living in this little village where, you know, maybe all their problems aren't solved with giving them a home. But it takes a village to raise a village, and we're there to talk to them and feed them lunch, and I think that's when you see the rewarding smiles and the people thank you, and you get the thankful messages. Also, we do turkey drives. Shout out to the turkey drive, where we give families a free turkey and all the fixings for Thanksgiving dinner on us, and we drop it off at their door. And you coordinate it with the families, and you call them before you show up, and you take an interactor with you, and you know, it's so rewarding to get these text messages. You know, my family really appreciates the turkey, and you do so much for the schools that you never hear about. You know, I'm sure there's clubs that buy eyeglasses for kids and feed them lunch on the weekends when there's not a meal, right? There's tons of Rotary clubs that do great things, and I think your podcast is a great platform to that, where you can spread this message out into the masses, right?
Yes.
and that holds value. This podcast is just as valuable as Rotary Magazine. This is the mountaintop, right? People could
Wow.
hear
You guys heard it here first.
Thank you. I do just want to go back to that service project that you guys do, and how memorable and a lasting impact it's going to have on you. You just think about having perspective. It gives some major perspective that, no matter how tough your day might be or, the circumstances that you're encountering, go and do a service project such as Under the Bridge and have a little bit of perspective on just, actually how great your life might be.
You learn too.
And
learn when you
things you can be grateful for. So, yeah.
One of my favorite things is typically the people that are the best givers are the ones with the least.
Yeah.
Seriously. People that I've encountered that you're like, I don't understand. Like, what? I don't understand how you give so much money. Like, I know you don't make a lot of money, and it's like you're just so generous, or you don't have any money, and you're still giving your time, and it's pretty fascinating, and it's so humbling, and it's such a good example for all of us. And this Under the Bridge project seems like a really great place to serve your time and to.
I thought you were going to say to start dreaming.
Well, I keep thinking of the Red Hot Chili Peppers every time I see that.
Yeah, right. That's a great song. I love that song.
Do you guys play it like as you're rolling? Like...
We will now. Yeah.
Wow.
Shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Kirk and the But if we want to talk about some numbers real quick, can we talk about how there are 1.4 million Rotarians, and also the foundation is on set to make 2.25 billion by 2025, and that's a lot of money. But we could use a lot more if we have 1.4 million Americans, and if we do every Rotarian every year, and people go to Rotary.org and give a little bit more, right? We can leverage our money and do more good in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what's your parting words for our listeners?
Oh man,
that puts you on the spot.
I think that's a good point to talk about how I wanted to be a castaway, and some of my favorite books were Hatchet, and I like the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks, and also another great book is Serene, the story of the Bengal tiger.
I think I know what you're talking about, actually.
Yeah, she's a daughter of a UN member, and she goes to India, and a Pakistani kid is her best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great book, right? And I love the idea of getting thrown into a foreign country and being able to make it on your own, right? And I'm a very good traveler, and I love traveling, and maybe things are a lot, when things are a lot simpler, you might be a lot happier. And you've ever heard of the Mexican fisherman? You ever heard the story?
Yep.
Okay, so
tell it anyway, very briefly. This is a good story.
Okay, there's a Mexican fisherman, and he's fishing in Mexico, and this American is on vacation, and he's watching him fish, and he says, if you catch more fish a day, you can save up money, you can buy a boat, and then you can catch more fish, and you can buy 2 boats, and then you can have 10 employees, and you can have a house, and you can raise your family. And then the Mexican fisherman says, yeah, and after all of that, 40 years down the line, I can retire and do what I'm doing right now, fish on a beach in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I like that joke, and it's important to just enjoy what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Enjoy what you're doing. I love it.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, Andreas, it certainly has been such an honor and a privilege to have you on. And I think that we'll have you on again to just give a little bit more time under your belt for this role.
Yeah, give you a few more months to solve the world's problems on Rotaract.
Yeah. But it really
I'm gonna
has
put that reset button and go fishing.
Yeah. A lot of key nuggets of information that I have as takeaways. And so thank you very much. Our listeners are certainly going to enjoy this and have some perspective from an individual who's, a little bit younger Rotarian as well. So,
well, thank you.
Yes.
And I want to say I'm looking forward to Dallas. I leave for Dallas in a week, and I go to PETS. If nobody's ever heard of PETS, we have all these acronyms that people don't know what they mean. It's President-elect Training Seminar, and that's important about learning your club role. And playing your part, and you'll do more by playing your part.
Absolutely.
Love it. Nice little plug there, Andreas. Thank you so much.
Shout out Russell Hampton.
It was a
Right.
pleasure.
Thank you for all the swag.
No problem.
Russell, thank you. Well,
thank you for tuning in. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson. We'll be back.
Hello, and welcome back to Searching for Service. I'm your host, Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
Well, that was a really nice guest that we had on.
Yeah, it's good to have Andreas.
You say that every time.
I do.
I mean, are we ever going to go? Yeah.
Just won't air.
So if you've been on and it never airs.
I was just going to say, shoot. Yeah. No, it was nice. Like, to our point earlier, that he just is bringing quite a bit of youthful energy to Rotary, and that's exactly what it needs.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, and he's new in his role,
yeah.
so it'll be fun to see what he ends up doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked a little bit about the connection between Rotaract and Rotary, and because I mean that's still even confusing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just how we can, get better with
Why is it even treated differently, right? Like,
well, now that we're into summer, now it's Memorial Day weekend. There's a lot that goes on in Rotary.
Well, I mean, it's just the summertime, so there's always going to be something happening. But yeah, so I think what I'd like to start off with is for our club personally, we have our annual Pat Kennedy Memorial Golf Tournament that is going to be happening on Monday, June 24th. It'll be happening in the morning at our very own Braemar Golf Course. And so if that is of interest,
it's always a great event.
It really is. And here's what I love about it, just personally, is that it is happening very early in the morning.
Yep.
And so you're kind of getting that done and over with for the first part of your morning. And, if you got to get back to work for whatever reason, then you've got the opportunity to do that. So it's not like it's a full day out on the golf course. It's just that first part of the day.
I think it's cool too that it wraps in, an hour of doing a projget.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, we started doing that 3 years ago.
Golf and like that's a cool aspect. If you're not a Rotarian, and you get to experience a little bit of service,
or even if you're not a golfer, right? Because we still have many Rotarians in our Rotary Club that are not golfers, but they will come specifically for that service project, and maybe they volunteer to help out on the golf course.
Yeah,
it'll be a great event. It'll be a great event this year.
Yeah. So we've got sponsorship opportunities, and we'll be sure to drop a link for you guys in case that is of interest to you.
Yeah.
A couple of these other things we've had shows on, so it's kind of fun to Summertime by George,
which happens in St. Cloud. So if you want to carve out a day or two to make a trip up there and spend a night, I know that we as a family,
if you're listening from that community,
or if you're listening
starts
from that
mid-June, I
community
think, is when that one starts. Out by the lake or out in the park, they helped. And
if you listen to the episode, they did leak the lineup.
They did, so we'll be sure to drop a link.
Did you guys
for
pick
that.
the date you're going yet?
We didn't.
We didn't yet.
No, I think it was going to be in August,
but
we'll see. Another one that'll be happening is the concert in the Commons, which is held out in the city of Excelsior. It already started in May. It goes through September, and it'll be from 5 to 7 p.m. And so
on Wednesdays.
Yes.
You guys got to see it last year or hear it from the boat, right?
Yeah. So our own little social event, we went out on the lake, Lake Minnetonka.
Couldn't find parking anywhere.
Yeah, because the concert series was
what the heck is going on here?
Yeah, where the port that it's held at is the same port that many of these boats
the big charters and launches. They have dinner, sunset cruises.
And then the other one that we wanted to touch on is the Prior Lakefront Festival.
That's a big
happening.
One.
That is
it's
a big
huge.
It's only one weekend though.
And we have quite a few volunteers from our club that go to support that. So,
and not to mention the Prior Lake Rotary Club donates money to our club on our behalf
for the support
because of
and
the support that we do.
volunteerism.
So that's really amazing. And it's not just a little bit of money. I mean, it's like $5,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a large
It
event.
really is.
It is a
Yeah.
big
And I don't
event.
know.
I
Have
mean,
they announced? I don't think they've.
I think they have a
announced.
country night one night and more of a rock the other night. So do you have the dates? Was it Friday in July, like 16th or?
Yeah. No, we'll just be sure to drop a link.
Yeah.
Because we don't
Did
have
you
it
guys
up
go
in front
last
of
year?
us. No, we
We
were
did
not
not.
able to.
No.
No, it's a bad weekend for me every year.
Yeah, our
Annual
golfer
trip,
here, our big golfer here. So I understand that. Well, and so the other thing too is there's, we're just touching on some of the really big ones, the big events or festivals that we're fully aware of, but there are so many other ones that you certainly can do your research on, and there's a few others that we'll be sure to just drop some information in the show notes for you.
Yeah,
about
no,
them.
there's just about every club has something. We're
Yeah.
talking about our golf tournament. I know in Egan they have a 5K fun run with kids right around the 4th of July. I think it's the 6th this year. And
Maybe I'll have to run in that.
Maybe you should. It's a great idea.
It sounds like cool. Would your children run with you?
Maybe. I don't know if they'll make it the whole way, but
yeah, no, but you could certainly push a stroller.
There you
Sure.
go. I think they get ice cream at the finish line.
Oh yeah. Well, we talked a little bit about some of the projects. The boys love the highway cleanup, and we, like our club does it twice a year, once in the spring, once in the fall. I know that we're talking about summer stuff, but I know that other clubs do it in the summer. But they found $100 bill.
Wow.
Their first time out. Now it's like, hey, you guys want to go pick up trash? Yes.
100%. They're like at the door waiting to go. So.
Learn to serve.
Yeah.
Getting paid.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, well, little did I know I was going to come out here and we were going to be able to split $100 bill.
How are they going to take it if they don't find one next time?
Well, they didn't.
They did not
they were
next
fine.
year.
And they were fine. But it's just that tease.
Yeah. You might have to just plant like a couple of ones. I saw one way down the road.
Joe's
you gotta
asking,
clean until you get there.
Joe's asking somebody to just plant a few of them out there, like make sure it doesn't go blowing away because it is right off the highway. So, well, so we hope you enjoyed this guest that we had on, Andreas, and hope you have time to enjoy some of these events that'll be coming up here throughout the summer. So.
Enjoy the summer.
Yeah, enjoy the summer. I'm your host, Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
It's time to stop searching
and start serving.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.